From Mpumalanga back to Gauteng we come, where rainwater partially shut down a major pipeline from its Vereeniging Purification Plant on Monday to augment its supply. The water supplier added a butterfly valve to its pipeline. And now this upgrade was in response to the increasing water demands. To talk to us about how everything went and what to expect in the future, I'm now joined in studio by Rainwater's Acting Chief Operations Officer, Khulekani Nxumalo. Good afternoon to you. Thank you so much for coming through.
Afternoon, please. Afternoon, and to your viewers.
Now, I suppose everything has been concluded. Talk to us about the process really and the challenges that you may have encountered in this procedure.
No, definitely everything has been concluded. It was not an easy project per se, but we are very grateful to the consumers for supporting us. We're grateful to the team for the great work that they actually did. You saw some of the gentlemen working the whole night to ensure that we finish on time, more critically the operations team to ensure that you continue to have water throughout the shutdown.
Yeah. So, well, from my part, I never experienced any shutdowns in my area. We didn't have any water cuts. Is it everyone or there were some areas, perhaps in Johannesburg, that were affected?
I'm glad you didn't. I think that was
I didn't.
I think that was the whole intention, to try and minimize the disruption as much as possible. There were incidents not linked to the shutdown per se, and you'd have seen in our communication, we kept on ensuring that we communicate why you're not having water in that particular area. But our reservoirs were throughout the time very stable. We were continuously supplying, as we've just confirmed.
So as it is now, the B11 pipeline has been fixed, everything is okay?
No, definitely. We fixed the valve. Remember, we are connecting a new line after we invested a lot of money, but we needed the valve to be able to connect it in a manner that you just do not even know. The reason we've spoken to you now, or we alerted you, just because there was so much water that we were taking out of the system, and we needed the support of the consumers to really use the water sparingly, so that it doesn't drain the system, so that everybody can have water in an equitable manner.
But we understand that this is the only project that Rainwater will be embarking on in the future. So there are about, what, 40 other projects that are still coming. And water supply may be affected in the future as well?
No, there are a lot of other projects that are coming, to be honest. I think this is based on the infrastructure decisions we made around 2009 to invest into new infrastructure to meet your demand. And also to give us flexibility such that we're able to maintain without you actually feeling it. So there's going to be a lot of shutdowns that we're going to be bringing on board, but all of them we are intending to communicate properly. We're intending to minimize the disruption. Some of them are mostly smaller, so we're not even going to be letting you know. The ones that are big enough will go through the same protocol of communication.
But talk to us about the growing demand of water in South Africa. How are you keeping up with that, more so here in Gauteng, of course?
That is a critically monitored process. We interact with our clients. On average, we grow about 2%. But for me, that's not really the critical worry. We should grow to meet the water you consume. I think as a country, we are faced with a lot of non-revenue water, which is mostly the water that is produced, but the money does not come back. So it's lost in the infrastructure, or it's stolen along the way. That's where the problem is. So we are gearing up for losses. So if you think of it differently, we are taking a lot of money and just pouring it down the drain. So that's for me the critical worry in this non-revenue space. So as a country, we need to work as a team, as we did in this particular shutdown, to ensure that we address non-revenue water issues, because what it does, it also puts pressure on the municipalities, because then they have little money for maintenance. And then what it leads to is maintenance issues are not done properly, and issues with shutdown. So non-revenue water is the biggest challenge that as a group, as a team, we need to be addressing.
But what's the status quo of our infrastructure? We've had the Department of Water Affairs on many occasions here on the SABC News channel, and in most cases they were complaining about aging infrastructure, which makes it a bit difficult for water to get where it is intended to.
No, definitely. If you look at Rainwater, we're more than 100 years old. So the infrastructure is old. So, but it's consistently monitored. There are asset management processes where we know when a typical period is going to occur when the infrastructure fails. So we continuously monitor that. Some of the replacement you're talking about in the main pipelines is speaking to portions that are reaching their end of life and that we need to be actually replacing. But in general, we are at that stage we're an old country and we've had infrastructure for a while.
But in general, do you think the water sector in South Africa really has to worry about the state of affairs and water?
I think we should be worrying on non-revenue water. I think you should be concerned on non-revenue water. I think we've been articulating the problem not in full. You see, the water value chain will start from raw water and ends in your household, in the water that you and me are drinking. So you also need to be maintaining your house. You need to be maintaining the leak in your house. You need to be maintaining the leak in your toilet, because if you don't, you're putting a strain in the infrastructure. For us to not worry, we all need to do our parts. We need the consumers to be paying the municipalities so that we can ensure.
But is Rainwater coming on board when I lodge a complaint about a leak in my house or a leak in my yard? Because a lot of people have been complaining that, I remember someone was saying on the group chat of iState was saying that I lodged a complaint a long time ago, but they only decided to pitch this past Sunday.
Yeah. That's the separation in our country. The water value chain is not integrated per se. I've got a role to take raw water, put it in the reservoir of the municipality. The municipality has a role to take it from their reservoir and take it to your tap.
Yeah.
So in their reticulation network, and that's what most of the time the confusion is, there is a leak. You are thinking it's a rainwater leak. It's not my infrastructure. I can't fix it. And more importantly,
the municipality has to step in and fix
and fix it. Even in your household,
Yeah.
I can't fix it. You need to fix it yourself.
All right, Khulekani, we'll leave it at this. Thank you so much for coming through. But as you said, a whole lot of other maintenance processes coming our way, pipe replacement, connecting new reservoirs, I suppose.
Definitely.
Okay, that was Rainwater's Acting Chief Operations Officer, Khulekani Nxumalo, talking to us about the state of water here in Gauteng.